That cultural ways are still perhaps not up to date to somebody who holds a PhD or even a Master of Science in Public Administration from a Western university. So what does it mean for those fighters? They're being brought into some governing capacity. They're being...
fighters are being interviewed. They're being placed in 3 battalions in northeast Syria. 1 of them with Aleppo and 3 with the northeast. They're joining other forces in the same, brigade as a unitary military unit, and they're being retrained. They're joining the training academies. Some of them have signed up to become in the Interior Ministry and the local security forces, and they will be gradually reintegrated. This is reintegration is a complete process. It's not just a press of a button, but it's a process. And once you start the process, they say it takes 21 days to change a habit. So you first change your clothes, your uniforms, but then you start changing the terminologies. You remove the yellow flag. You adopt the Syrian flag. It's difficult in the beginning, but if you set the road and you can't go right, you can't go left, there's only one way to move forward.
Okay. Well, Mr. Kov, let me ask you one more thing about that, because it's been reported recently that the government has taken control of all the military bases previously used by the U.S. forces, particularly in the northeast of the country. And I know that the new authorities are very eager to present it as the result of their efforts to regain Syrian sovereignty. And I'm sure partially it's the case, but do you think the Americans also may have had their own motives for leaving, especially in the light of Israel's increasingly more assertive stance both in Syria and around the region?
The American withdrawal was inevitable. It was there from the day Trump took office, and even the previous administration. There's a bipartisan approach of pulling forces from indefinite wars, and so this was a win-win from Syrian perspective. And
pan out exactly to what he said when you consider the current engagement in Iran. He did not exactly deliver that.
I agree. And Syrian authorities have voiced their reservations on waging war in the Middle East, and so we haven't, we're not a Western-oriented country per se, although we are definitely not not towards Iran, not towards Israel. We're kind of in the middle where, as the president said, just leave us alone and let us at least rebuild our country.
Now, despite these statements and despite the militant past of the new Syrian authorities, they seem to show a lot of restraint when it comes to Israel and its continuing and expanding occupation of the Syrian land, particularly to the south of Damascus, as well as this constant, very casual, as it seems from the side, bombardment of Syrian territory. What do you think explains such a restraint?
Syrian authorities realize that war is not an option. We're not ready. All of our resources are being put on domestic reconstruction, rebuilding institutions, and that we don't want. We're also not in the business of making wars. Syrian people don't want wars anymore.
Isn't there a concern, though, that whatever Israel takes, it rarely, almost never, returns back?
But what options do we have? We have a diplomatic option, we have a military option. The military option, we don't have the capacities. We have very old Russian equipment in the military that needs a lot of mechanics to fix it, and replacing it is very costly. And we have a country that is in ruins. We have a social contract that doesn't exist, and we need to get people to believe in the army, to join the army. And defend the country. And so the whole doctrine of the military doctrine in Syria has shifted towards, preserving territorial integrity, to rebuild the country, and to kind of minimize the noise that's coming from Israel. We'll continue to demand.
But it's not just the noise, I suppose.
It's land troops occupying Syrian territories. I mean, it is an occupation of Syrian territories, and so we're not going to give up as a country, as a nation, as a people, any centimeter of territory. This is Syrian land. Are we going to go at war with it? Currently, there is no desire by anyone in Syria. You talk to anyone on the streets. Yes, we hate occupation. Yes, we will never say that this will ever become an Israeli territory.
I heard you say in another interview that Syria is not interested in being the ground for proxy politics anymore.